A Womanizer's Guide to Axiom, Chapter 12. A massive natural amphitheater stretched out before them to a large underground lake. Directly in front of them was a huge ancient walking dock that crossed out to the water about 40 feet in front of them. The dock floated up and down on the clear blue water. Ringing the cave was a naturally formed ledge roughly 20 feet up. A bluish glow seemed to light the great cave, but it was impossible to tell where it was coming from. At the very end of the dock was a large stone platform that jutted up and out of the water. The platform had strange markings on it. On the far end of the platform, from where the dock exited, was a body. A once great pirate captain now sat on a throne of bones, long dead and decayed. Halfway down the dock, before the platform, the dock split off to the left and extended to a large, massive, building-sized stalagmite that had grown up from out of the lake. A doorway was carved into the side. Titus was, for once, at a loss for words. Briefly.
Well, that settles that. Dead guy in the cave. That's Corga Nostro, right? Doesn't look like a lot of gold kicking around, honestly.
Asi ignored him. Try again. Where is it, Savi? Savi was lost in the moment. Titus watched the woman's face curve into absolute satisfaction. For her father was not crazy. She was not crazy. At least not about this. The situation seemed to melt away for her, and she was lost in the culmination of two lives. Cognagstro, I found you, she muttered. Indeed. The voice turned the trio around, bringing them back to reality. Dufries stood behind them. A pistol in each hand hung at her side. 9 pirates had spread out on the ledge above, giving them a bird's eye and an easy shot on anyone on the dock. Asi pulled her mace, ready to fight, but they were clearly outnumbered. Titus leaned towards Asi.
If your poisoned needle was going to jump in, now would be a good time,
he whispered. Raising his voice, he called to Dufries.
Good day to you, madame. Did you resolve everything at the good mayor's house? You were both somewhat distraught the last time we parted ways.
Dufries grinned. After all, what did she have to be sad about? Ah, you must give me your name. She began, stepping forward, a 10th pirate stepping out behind her, rifle raised to cover her. I mean, after all these struggles with these two, who would have thought the person who would have caused me such pain was a loser party boy just trying to get his dick wet? As she closed in, she raised one of the guns and made a gesture, ushering the trio off the main dock and onto the side dock that led to the building-sized cave. With a quick glance at Savi to make sure she was following along for now, he gestured grandly.
Ah, you cut me to the quick. I should have you know that try is not usually the operative word, madame. Nay, it should be did get.
He backed down the dock slowly next to Savi.
Keep moving, love, and we might not die yet.
His whisper to her was harsh but quiet.
My name, of course, is not particularly important, is it? This loser party boy business is a bit awkward, though. Unless you are fond of having a mouthful, and I should not be one to tell you otherwise. Call me Victus.
He glanced to see what Asi was doing, but stayed close to Savi. Savi gave Titus a confused look. Sure, you have a plan. What are you going to do? Kiss her to death? She moved with Titus, as did Asi. Asi's eyes constantly scanned the lake, waiting for something, preparing for a fight only she, Titus, and Savi knew was coming. Dufries jumped in on Savi's counter. Oh, kiss me to death? She eyed Titus. He appears too dainty for me, but I do like to destroy something beautiful now and again. Alas, our situation does not allow for such indulgence. I'm here to win a war, after all. The last part was directed at Asi, who could not resist. The gold won't help you. Nothing will. We will take our lands back. DeFreeze smiled. I'm not after the gold, and I never was. Titus grinned at Savi, his eyes a little wild.
Plan? Heavens no. Just keep moving is all.
Back to DeFree, he continued.
Dainty? Really? It's the hair, isn't it? This coif is elegant, but not suited for travel. Ah well, perhaps next time.
They'd moved most of the way to the opening, so Titus stopped moving for a moment.
Out of curiosity, what are you here for? I can't imagine you'd let whatever gold was here go in any case.
DeFreeze grinned as she began to walk towards the platform in the center. Her men began to move with her, but backwards. The rifle always trained on the trio, as if that mattered with the firing squad above. Most pirates are thieves, yes. So it makes sense you would lump me in with them. You don't know any better, she said, walking down the dock and stopping just at the edge of the concrete platform. Her man a step behind her, gun still on Titus and the woman. She looked up and seemed to lock eyes with the dead captain. I'm not a pirate because I'm a pirate. I'm a pirate because I'm a patriot. She turned to Titus. I am a pirate because my country needed a thief, a killer. They needed someone to help them do things they did not have the strength to do themselves. They found in the Naval Academy that I had both loyalty and an ability to see the common rules of morality do not matter on the grand scheme of things, that only the results matter, only winning matters. She suddenly spun, snatching her man with a looping arm around the throat. Off balance and surprise, she hip-tossed the man onto the platform. The affiliation is going to win, she finished, and almost on cue, the pirate soldier began to retch, blood spewing forth from his mouth. The blood itself called forth from the unlucky pirate, moving along the platform floor, filling the ruins as it headed for the skeletal remains of the long-dead captain. Titus watched in horror as the man twitched and spasmed, blood gushing and flowing.
Lady, you are damaged goods.
He shook his head at her.
Honestly, I don't think you care two coppers who you're fighting for, as long as you can be a psychopathic killer without the law breathing down your, admittedly elegant, neck. Not that you care what a little mouth breather like me thinks, really, but I think you should stop fooling yourself.
Backing up a few more steps towards the cavern, he leaned to Savi.
I think that,
gesturing towards the currently dead captain,
is our cue to get moving.
DeFreeze shrugs, then spins, a pistol in her hand pointed at the trio. You say tomato. Her finger eased onto the trigger, but the moment was broken as a new scream sounded outside the retching pirate on the platform. This one was from the ledge above. DeFree turned. On the upper ledge, the pirates were falling one by one as Kufi, the poison needle, and his trio of assassins moved through their ranks. The scream had come from one of the pirates who had lost their footing, just as Absiday had closed and toppled before he could be silenced. The pirate at the center of the platform stopped moving as the blood had begun to pull from his ears and eyes as well. The captain on his throne took a breath. No one saw that, though, as the shots rang out. The fight was on. Grabbing Savi's arm, Titus took the opportunity to start running, tearing back down the dock. His only thought was to get the hell out of here. With the melee up top and the shooters on the ledge no longer had them covered. He hoped that in the fight, everyone would take Titus and Savi for what they were, not a threat. Titus ran, dragging Savi. He was at the end of his desire to see how this played out. Magical undead, pirates, and Izwi assassins had helped him to the conclusion that it was no longer worth it, whatever it was that they were here for. If Titus had turned, he would have seen Asi charging DeFreeze while DeFreeze opened fire on her. He would have seen splashes and plumes of blood. He might have also seen the unlucky pirate's sacrifice cease to move while the long-dead captain began to stand. Titus, however, did not turn to see any of this, and no one could make him. If they could get back up to the cave, hopefully this fight would last long enough to get them out of here. Halfway down the dock, though, they had to pump the brakes as the Healy landed in front of them. The short blue creature was armorless, in dark, tight clothes everywhere but his head. His pupilless eyes locked on them, and 2 large knives came up in either of his hands. They had a wavy shape to their double edge, and a circle ring at the base of the hilt, allowing the Healy to spin them like impromptu buzzsaws. He was a third of their size, but no fear or doubt showed on the creature. After all, if you know how to kill, what does your height matter? I'm not afraid of him, but I feel like we should be, Savi said, eyeing the mean-looking Izwi. Titus stopped reluctantly, his mind whirling. He took a leap of intuition.
Do you know where to find Poison Needle? He needs help with that affiliation psychopath, and whatever terrifying madness is happening on the dock. Can you help?
His tinge of panic wasn't really feigned, but this man needed to get out of his way right now. The Healy watched them for a second, then sprinted towards them. Titus read it not as an attack, though. His gambit had worked, or the Healy had decided they weren't worth it. Whatever the reason, he pulled Save out of the way, and the Healy blew past them, looking to enter the fray and aid Asi against Dufree. Titus wasted no time again, rushing down the docks, Savi in tow, just barely dodging a falling pirate as they hurried past and up the cave back the way they came. This has been Chapter 12 of an Axiom, Womanizer's Guide to Axiom, written by myself, Zachariah Van Siders, and Mr. Mark Bell. This is the product of a 5-year game that we played, and all voice work for Titus Petronius is done by Mr. Mark Bell. We'd also like special thanks and consideration to Wizards Respite, who hosts the written version on wizardsrespite.com, as well as the narrative version that you can see there. Should you want to catch up on any previous episodes, there is a playlist available at Old Man Gaming on YouTube, or you can read all the back episodes here on Wizards Respite. Hopefully we'll be back next week with a new episode. Thank you very much for listening.